Hello everyone, welcome to Did You Know, the program that fills in the blanks to questions you may have had on a variety of subjects. I'm Rachamim Hedaya, president of Chabad of Bethesda, Maryland. As president and a lifelong learner, I ask lots of questions. Today I'm going to ask Rabbi Geisinsky questions about Jewish practices and customs that have puzzled me and may puzzle you as well. I can guarantee that you will get answers on today's show. My guest is Rabbi Geisinsky, the rabbi of Chabad of Bethesda. He and his Rebbetzin Rachamim Geisinsky run a Hebrew school, Camp Gan Israel, adult education programming, JLI courses, and run the Chabad of Bethesda shul. Today, Rabbi Geisinsky and I will be discussing the whys of Jewish practices and customs. Why do visitors to a grave put stones on top of the headstone? Why are there so many Jews in Hollywood? Welcome, Rabbi Sender.
Thank you. Wonderful to be here.
Let's get into our questions.
Right?
So the first question I have for you is, why are there so many Jews in Hollywood?
Starting with the tough ones. Truth is, this might be a better question to ask Steven Spielberg, but I'll take a crack at it. While it seems that it's a relatively lighthearted question, the truth is it actually kind of speaks to an era in the United States where, although the tenets are that everybody is created equal, there was a decent amount of discrimination in terms of the culture. Back in the 1920s, a lot of the more prestigious professions or industries were kind of an old boys network, and Jews were often not encouraged or allowed to be part of it. So to be a doctor or a lawyer was something that was not very easy for a Jew to break into. Even the theater industry in the 1920s in New York was a very established field and had a culture to it, and it was difficult for Jews to make it into that business. But Hollywood in California was the wild, wild west. It was just starting up. It was relatively nascent, and it was an industry that in a certain sense hadn't had its established rules. So the Jews were able to go there, and they leveraged a certain amount of creativity that kind of comes innately to them. The idea that for thousands of years we've always been telling stories. The Passover Seder with the story of the Haggadah, et cetera, and the creative way of teaching ideas in the Talmud, which is in a sense the source of Jewish law, the debates that went back thousands of years, in a sense set the stage for a very vibrant Jewish presence in Hollywood with the acting and the storytelling. You can see that Jews, when they tell stories, it's not only verbal, it's very visual. A Jew cannot tell a story without their hands. And so that allows also for expression in Hollywood. And like in many other professions, once a group kind of breaks in, they invite their family and their friends, and soon, before you know it, it became a particularly Jewish location.
So if somebody got a job in Hollywood, then what would they say? They'd say mazel tov, right?
That's right, yes.
So the question is, why do Jews say mazel tov?
Mazel tov is a very fascinating greeting, because on the one hand, we have as an accepted tenet of Jewish belief that ein mazal Yisrael. The word mazal means really the zodiac signs. And the idea is to have a good, to be under a good zodiac sign. On the other hand, we say the Jewish traditions is that a person has to be the master of their own fate, and should not rely on their symbols and signs and fate and all that. So how do we square that with the fact that the quintessential Jewish greeting is you should have a good mazal? We don't say congratulations. We don't say wonderful or salutation. We say mazel tov. And the answer is because the word mazal, although it means zodiac, it connotes zodiac, it actually means stream. And the idea is, although every single person has free will and the choice in which direction they want to go, the fact is that there are streams that kind of buffet in one direction or another. So that like a ship on the ocean is hoping for winds that push it in the right direction. If there are no winds, then they'll have to struggle with the oars. But you're hoping that the stream will go in your direction. So the understanding when we say mazel tov is that as you are trying to go down this path or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, the stream and the sign should be buffeting you in the right direction. However, if it doesn't, you can't say I'm a victim of fate. You're expected to make it work anyway. So it's an aspirational reading.
So now I got a job, I said mazel tov, and now the food comes out. So my question is, why do Jewish people always celebrate with food?
It's funny because I once was hosting a Hanukkah event, and I was putting out all the food and a whole bunch of people around, and I saw this as an opportunity as a rabbi to talk at great length at what Hanukkah was. And I started expounding on from the spiritual aspects of it and the historical aspects. And one of the fellows interrupts me and he says, Rabbi, it's like every other Jewish holiday. There was a war, we won, let's eat. Mm-hmm. So apparently it is part of the menu of every Jewish holiday that we eat. And it really ties into the fact that the Jewish experience is not meant to be just a spiritual one. Obviously, a tremendous focus on soul and spirit, etc. But we don't leave the body behind in Judaism. And while we're having our Shabbat or we're having our Rosh Hashanah, whatever it is, and our soul is very much in tune with what is occurring, and a lot of the traditions are catered to the soul. But the body is also there, and the body also has to be part. It has to be an experience of your entire being, has to be involved. And so we bring the body on board as well. And this becomes something that is wholesome, and it really is holistic for everybody.
Well, so let me ask you one more question before we take a break. So now we've eaten, we're about to eat, and we have a challah. We have a challah, the Jewish, quintessential Jewish bread, and it's braided. So why, I've always wondered, why is it braided?
Because it looks nicer that way. It's more exciting than just eating a plain loaf of bread. Now, the truth is challah has a very kind of Kabbalistic meaning. Obviously, challah is the primary go-to food for Shabbat. It's connecting the idea that there are 6 directions in a 3-dimensional world: north, south, east, west, in front and back. And you bring them all together, you braid them all together, because Shabbat is the unity of all the disparate elements that are throughout the week. On Shabbat, we unify them all together. And that is bringing it in a braided fashion.
Fascinating, fascinating. When we come back, after a quick break, we'll find out if Jewish people are actually encouraged to argue.
What is the difference between a photographer and a visual artist?
Well, the difference is not a lot. To put it simply, I'm a visual artist. Okay, I use photography, but I use other means to express myself.
Montgomery Community Media offers many courses.
Half the people getting to know these awesome people whom I work with and I'm learning with, and great teachers, and it's also like, oh, this is how TV works.
When I'm watching shows like talk shows or even, exercise shows, things like that, I look at it so differently.
That kind of like, there is a guy sitting at a giant board filled with buttons just pushing them. That makes sense.
We teach our students how to be the reporter, the shooter, and the editor for their very own news pieces.
This is a good opportunity to learn about different ways of documentary and editing.
My dad got an email from someone and he told me it was going to be a good opportunity to learn how to edit, shoot videos, and interview people.
It's really good, and you should come to MCM Backpack Journalism class because it's exciting and it's actually really fun.
MCM to me means opportunity. It's giving me the opportunity to gain experience on an actual show that airs on the network. And I don't think I'll be able to get that experience anywhere else. So it's been a great experience for me so far.
For anybody that hasn't taken one of the MCM classes, I encourage you, go out, try it, you won't regret it. You'll have an experience that you're gonna see how the cameras work, and actually an opportunity to be part of video production. That's what I would recommend anybody that's interested in MCM.
Welcome back to Did You Know? I'm Rachamim Hedaya, and my guest is Rabbi Geisinsky of Chabad of Bethesda. We're getting our questions about Jewish practice and customs answered. Rabbi Sender, one of the things I've wondered about is why are bread and salt the first things that you bring into a Jewish home?
This kind of harkens back to what we were talking about before the break. The idea of marrying both the spirit and the body, the spirit and the structure, the soul and the body, so that when you're building your home, which is going to be your spiritual edifice, it's going to be your physical location, at the same time that we're bringing in a sense, the spirit and the words of prayer, etc., we also bring in the bread and the salt, which is concretizing the physical, in a sense, center of the home. At the same time, hearkening back with the salt to sacrifices brought on the altar, which is to say that this home and everything that we do in it will hopefully serve a higher purpose as well.
So continuing with our theme of food in Jewish life, so my question is, why is it that vegan foods and say vegan restaurants aren't kosher by default?
The truth is because although the principles of what makes something kosher is really covered when you're going vegan, etc., there are myriads of details that are very important when it comes to having a kosher establishment, where things are brought from, who's watching, how it's being done, how it's being worked in the kitchen, where was this vegetable oil, how was this vegetable oil, which is otherwise fine, how was it used before, what kind of utensils are being used, etc., There are a lot of details, and therefore there needs to be somebody who was an authority on all the rules and all the laws, keeping tabs on this particular restaurant, giving it its approval. Otherwise, you just don't know with all the details what's going on.
So let's switch themes now. Let's talk a little bit about death in Jewish practice. Why is it that Jewish people go to a cemetery, they don't place flowers on the grave, they place pebbles on the headstone?
Yeah, it's a fascinating tradition. Many people are familiar with the tradition, but not too many people know why we do it. The idea is because Judaism, along with many other religions, have a very strong belief that death is not the end of the road, that a soul carries on, and there's still the concept of honoring one who has departed past the point of death, which is why we are so very careful to execute their wishes and to show them respect and honor in the way we bury them. One of the things that is important is to show that they are still connected to us, they are still very much part of our lives, and so that even though we've buried them on this location and we do leave and go back to our lives, we come back often. And to come back and leave a pebble is almost like putting a signature in a guest book. It shows for yourself, for the one who has passed on, and for others that see that this is still a very active site, that people are coming back here often to visit. Now, why a pebble and not flowers is because at this point the soul is more focused on more edifying things than just fleeting beauty. Flowers are beautiful in the moment, but unfortunately they wither and die very quickly. A stone is forever. It makes this point of eternality, of something carrying on with a strength and a fortitude, and a message we want to place there at the gravesite.
So this will probably be my last question, although I have many, many more, but are Jews allowed to argue? Are they encouraged to argue?
Absolutely
not. And I'm going to disagree with whatever you say.
Jews are encouraged to debate. I wouldn't say argue. And because argument is something where emotions get mixed in and it becomes me versus you, etc., etc. When we're debating, then we actually share a common goal, which is to better understand something. And that is not only allowed, but and not only encouraged, it's mandated, because at the bottom line, it's fascinating that when you have a camera, if you want to make a take a three-dimensional picture, you need two cameras. You need two different perspectives in order to really see something properly. So a debate with both people trying to understand the same thing better, get to a better knowledge when they hear each other's perspectives.
That's fascinating. It's very good. Thank you, Rabbi Geisinsky. This has been a very informative show, and we'd like to have you back in the future. If people would like to know more, they can come to the Chabad of Bethesda for services or the many classes that are offered. It's really a warm, welcoming place. Their website is www.shalomchabad, SHALOMCHABAD.com. Please Join us next week for more of Did You Know?